tell me, how did you meet your wife?
On my third or fourth message to Tui that I've never spoke before, I told that I was going to marry her. And then eventually I did.
And why did you move to Australia? Well, I had a bus card.
Go after something that you're genuinely proud about, that you would want to really do. We could talk for like another 3 hours about the gym because I'll be very passionate about it. If you ask me when we work in finance, can you talk for 3 hours? I'll be like, no.
You don't look very Indonesian. How do you become fittest man in Indonesia? Ricky, thank you so much for being here. Before we start, congratulations.
Thank you.
What do you think for what?
Well, I guess for the baby that is on the way.
Exactly, exactly. When your wife, my good friend Tui, told me about it, I was like crying. I had tears in my eyes. I'm like, oh, I'm so happy for you. So first of all, congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you for having me here and for the congratulations.
Yeah, I'm so excited for everybody listening to this podcast because usually when Ricky tells stories, I'm somewhere on the ground grasping for air because I'm laughing and laughing and laughing. You have so many great stories, and I already said, Ricky, before the episode, please tell this story. So I'm just really excited for this episode, and then of course, congratulations. I'm just coming out of your brand new gym. That's why my hair is so wet. Went into the ice bath. No, first I jumped onto the bike, answered DMs. I know you have a lot on your plate as well. I love to jump on the bike and just answer DMs or messages, and then went straight to the ice bath. Beautiful temperature, compliment.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And
what
then,
a day you're having.
Right? And then straight into the magnesium bath, which is just delicious. And so, yeah, I see you more often than my family because you're the owner of the gym.
Yeah. No, well, first of all, thank you for setting the expectation very low. So now it's like, all right, so that's a good beginning,
right?
But I'm happy you're enjoying the gym. It's been a huge work in progress, and I'm happy that you're able to enjoy it. Because for me, I'm still working my way to be able to enjoy this space. Because I guess you probably also see it in the things that you do. You're the most critic. So for me, every time I come in the morning, there's like 50 million things to fix, and I still have to be able to enjoy it to the level that you do right now. So I hope soon that I can also.
I enjoy it for you.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome. I would, before we get into this, and there are a lot of things that I would like to unpack, I would like to get a bit more context about you.
Yeah.
About your also beginnings, your career as a basketball player. And if you would, maybe let's go there. If I would have been a fly in your head when you were a teenager and you were playing basketball, it was your dream to become a professional athlete, or as I know you, probably you wanted to become the best. If I would have been a fly in your head around that time, what would I have experienced with you?
Well, I honestly think I had a very good. Like my teens here were awesome. I really enjoyed it, and I think I was very lucky because I knew since I played basketball when I was 6, I straight away knew what I wanted, and I was fortunate enough to be in a position that allowed me to do that. And so all I wanted to do was play basketball. That's it. I never had to have my parents to tell me to go to practice. I never had anyone to tell me to go to practice. I always wanted to go to practice.
Just because you loved it so much?
I loved it. And it seems like crazy to say, but I almost love practice more than games. Like I enjoyed it playing basketball at all times. And so if you would be in my head when I was younger, you probably find a team that is slightly different that you might expect. I was happy to not go on school trip. I was happy to not going out. I would train my own way. Let's say even in the summer, no one told me that I had to be in shape, but I always kind of knew because I really always wanted to be a basketball player. That was my thing. As soon as they put the ball in my hand, all I wanted to do was play basketball. And so for me, those were beautiful years because, you have the light heart and the light mind of a teen, and you have a scope. Those can be very challenging years if you don't really know what's happening with your body, with your life, with everything. It could be a very complicated age for many people to navigate their emotions. And for me, I don't know, I feel like I was very lucky to find something that I was genuinely really passionate about and just made me happy to do. And that's all I wanted to do, just play basketball. I would go and watch the games of, the old people in my town. And then after the games, I just want to go into the court and shoot until my mom had to drag me out. So it was just,
Yeah.
it was just all I've ever wanted to do. And so if you would fly into my head when I was younger, you probably see like a happy kid, just being happy playing sports. And that's the thing that I wanted to do for the rest of my life. And then turns out I was not good enough for it.
Oh.
I was good enough to a certain level. But I think, like I started in my own small little town. And then as things developed, I was always, amongst the group of the good kids. I got recruited from the best team in Milano. So the big team comes by. Milano's third team is in EuroLeague. So like the Champions League of basketball is the most important team in Italy for basketball. So, you're going to a reality that they treat you almost as a professional until you're 13, I think, when I went there. And then I worked my way up through all the junior teams. I did the national teams. I went to the first team as well. And until I was 17, 18, I was always in the group of the one that could have a career. When you have in that age, they see like, okay, you could do it as a job or you couldn't. And I was in the one that you could. And then things went very well. I mean, I played in the second and third league, a little bit on the first one. And then I got to an age where I was like, okay, am I going to like break through in a big way or am I just going to float?
And how was that reality check?
Interesting. It's interesting because I think it was. I think the hardest part, of course, is like it's really mentally difficult to accept it in a way because, I mean, I don't mean it in a bad way, but when you're an athlete, society sees you differently. Same as if you're a celebrity or whatever. It's not necessarily the case, but somewhat you have a different status then. And so, even amongst my group of friends, I was, he plays professionals and they have a job, which I don't want it like to make it sound bad. And it's not even something that consciously I think, but I think that's just how it works. And when you're a professional athlete, you see the world just slightly different. Your life is not the regular.
Everything is about being an athlete. There's not like every single decision you make is about the sport.
Yeah. And you almost live in your own bubble.
Yeah.
It's a very privileged, beautiful life. I've always believed that my professional year was awesome because it is. Like if you love the sport, you're paid to play a sport. Someone's taking care of your house and your food. And all you have to do is just arrive prepared to the practice. And you just get to do that. And so it's living the dream of a kid. And I've had that for a few years. And then when you have to go to the change, it's a different thing because now no one's taking care of you. You're not that special anymore. And so it's hard. And I wasn't even, I wasn't a good level, but I wasn't like a huge caliber of athletes. But I can see why when certain athletes end their career, they struggle to find a different dimension, especially because I stopped my career when I was 22, 23. If I would have done that for 15 years longer, I would have embodied that personality for 15 years more.
Yeah.
And so you have to, it's even of a deeper change that you have to have. And I remember like, again, not consciously, these are not conscious thoughts because you can't choose your thinking, but you just find it in your head sometimes like that you find yourself thinking like, oh, I have to wake up I have to get a job. I was like, now I have to dress up and at 7 I need to be at the office. And then for me, it was like, it felt like a downgrading. It was probably the best thing that has ever happened. But when it happened, it wasn't easy, although I was the one that decided to make it happen. So
brings me back to something I was thinking about today. I watched this Steve Jobs speech that he gave in front of the Stanford University, and one thing he said was, "You can only connect the dots looking backwards."
Yeah.
In the moment when shit hits the fan, you're like, yeah.
Yeah.
But then couple years later, a decade later, you're like, thank you so much that this actually didn't happen, because otherwise, I'm curious, in your case, what would be, if you would connect the dots now,
Yeah.
what would be your main takeaway? Or like, are you happy that it didn't happen?
Yeah, 100%.
Because
Well, because I'm very content where my life is right now. I'm very happy. If I would have continued on that path, probably I would have not met you, or I would have met my wife. There's so many things that would
yeah,
have not happened because I would have stayed in my own country. I would have stayed in my own. So, I can't even imagine what life would be right now if I didn't make certain choices, or even in the way, there's been like a million ways in which things could have happened. The thing that I'm grateful for is that I've always decided my own like destiny.
yes,
And so even when like some people have to stop their professional career because of an injury or because they don't find a team or because of whatever reason. For me, I arrived to one summer and I was like, am I gonna break through? No. Should I do something else? Probably yes. So although it was a hard decision to make, I'm happy that I've had the clarity of mind to analyze my situation, keeping the ego aside, because my ego still wanted to be the basketball player, but then my brain is like, dude, you're just not good enough for it. Like you've tried it really hard. You can be okay for some times, but you're never gonna be the things that you want it to be. You're always gonna be below that. And so for me, I was like, well, I gave it a real solid shot for 16 years. I've done a lot of beautiful things, and then maybe it was time to close that window and try something else, because there were other things that I was passionate about and that I wanted to do, and I knew that pursuing that basketball career was not going to get me where I wanted to be, and it would have precluded me the chance to also do the other things. And so that was the moment that I decided it was probably better to try something else.
beautiful. I'm thinking right now about all the relationships or the people I would have wanted relationships with. When right now I'm thinking like, good that it didn't work out. It
Right.
would have been a catastrophe.
Right.
But back then it hurt. It just hurts. And there's so many moments in my life where I could look back. In the moment, it's painful, but looking backwards, I'm like, I'm happy it happened. You can only connect the dots looking forward, and knowing that now, when shit hits the fan, I try to like almost have a bit of faith that someday I'm gonna look back and say, well, good that this door has been closed.
It's often like that. I figure like sometimes it's good that things don't happen because they're not meant to be. Sometimes it's good that they don't happen because you're not ready for it. Sometimes, you just need a little bit more time and it'll
Yes.
happen again when you're ready for them.
Yes.
I think my first realization of that was after I stopped playing basketball. I got into finance for a bit because that's what I
I didn't know.
for a little bit. Yeah. So
Me too. But I didn't know
there has
that
been a
about
time
you.
that I was going out with suit
Really?
and tie. Yeah.
No. Okay.
Now this is my formal.
I was about to say.
But no, there's been a time that I did that, and in that time I met a few people, and there was this opportunity to open like a little cafe in London, and at the time like I wasn't passionate about it. I just wanted something to do that would excite me, and it didn't happen at the time. I was devastated that it didn't happen, but that not happening led me to eventually come to this side of the world and start what I'm really passionate about.
Yeah.
I'm not passionate to run a cafe by myself. I'm not a cook. I wasn't passionate about it, and I didn't want to live in London. But at the time, when you put yourself into no, now I have to do it.
Yeah.
For doesn't matter what, you don't even know why you're doing it. You just have
Exactly.
to do it. And then not happening, when it didn't happen, I said for a second, it was the first time in my life that I actually had probably the consciousness to think about it. Oh, it's actually good that it didn't happen. That was the first time that I've noticed.
I just remembered this job interview I had for this big German bank, and I really prepared hard, like a lot for this one interview. And suit and tie. I was like maybe 16 or 17. I was so nervous. I go in there, 50 people. I'm like, okay, that's gonna be interesting. You do all of those tests, and I prepared really good, like really well. I knew all of the answers. I thought I did so well, and then of course, you don't hear from them for the next couple of weeks. I think it took a couple of months, and then I saw that they didn't take me, and I was like, huh. I would have really liked that. Yeah, my life. No, it felt like I felt so much shame for like, oh no, I have to tell my siblings, my parents, my girlfriend at the time that I didn't get the job. So I felt so much shame for it. I felt like I'm an idiot. I felt like never gonna get a job. But now I'm like, oh my gosh, just imagine, Axel, you would have ended up in a bank in this job, and would not saying that it's necessarily a bad job, but just like knowing me and knowing what kind of person I am, it would have been a catastrophe.
Probably knowing you, I would also say that it would have been. I don't really see you doing
Yeah,
that.
yeah. Me sitting on this chair for an hour is already like
Putting an effort.
yeah. That's a conscious effort. I need to move. I need to do many different things, and I love being my own boss. So looking, there's so many moments. Like even last year when I know you're friends with Mari, that decision, she breaking up with me. Back at that moment, I was like, ugh. You know that feeling when you have this massive stone in your stomach?
Yeah.
I'm like, whew. I knew theoretically you can only connect the dots looking backwards, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't hurt. And so now, a year later, I would say this painful experience, this very humbling experience, made my life so much better. And I don't mean it in a bad way, but I can say my life is 10 times better. And even though it's painful and I value her so much, it was the right call. I'm glad she did it. I'm glad she had the courage. And now again, looking backwards, it's easy to say, but if you're in the moment, it's hard. But it's maybe a bit easier to know, like, oh my gosh, one day you will look back and you will say it's just gonna be okay.
I think that's the interesting things that I'm noticing with, of course, with me or my wife or the people around us is like, it's nice to see that every year, like somewhat things improve, or like the way you react to things improve,
Yes.
the way you
Yes.
face problem improve. So like, and every time you think you're figured it out, if you look, time go by, you look back, you're not. So like right now, I feel like I got it all under control. In 5 year times, I re-listened to this interview. I was like, oh my God, I was such a kid. And
Right.
so,
I think that's a good sign.
Yeah.
That's you making progress. It also, I love what you just said, because that also means problems are here to stay. They're never going to go away. I think sometimes on the past, I would think like, oh, okay, will it, like, can there not just be no problems?
yeah.
But I don't think we reach ever that point.
This podcast is relatively young, and if you want to support our mission to give you access to the most extraordinary minds, to the most helpful success recipes, well, then you can do something that takes about 3.5 seconds, which is to subscribe to this podcast. Gives us the ability to give you access to the most amazing guests. So just click on that button, helps a lot, takes 3.5 seconds. Thank you so much, and I'll see you later.
When I moved back from Dubai back to Bali, I know people now, it's like, wait, what?
Yeah, we'll get into the story
We'll get
in
into
a
that.
second.
But I remember we had a phase in which everything stressed us. And it was, I think, right before COVID, we had issues like with our visas, with our setting up some online stuff. And I feel like, just when everything doesn't roll. And so we were always, when that's done, then we're fine. Or when that's done, then we're happy. Or when that's done, and then we were never happy. And, and so we were like, we probably need to think a little bit differently, because it wasn't enjoyable. It was always like a pursuit of like, when X things happens, then we're happy. When X this, when we
Dangerous
sort that,
place,
then... And even see the growth from like in the last 3 years, because if anything, we have more trouble now than we had 3 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But we're just living so much happier because we have learned how to handle those. So I think for us, the big realization, it was really like those things will always happen.
Yeah.
And if we learn how we handle ourselves and how we handle the people around us and how we handle those situations, life will still be fine.
I love that.
Whereas before...
I have goosebumps. I literally have goosebumps. Yeah, I love this. Problems are here to stay.
Yeah.
They're not going to go anywhere.
Also because I've seen it now, with the gym opening, you came in and you had a beautiful experience, but to get to that stage...
Yeah. So many challenges, so many problems.
Yeah.
They will forever be part of the journey, especially if you do important things. Like if you grow, whenever you grow, new problems.
Yeah.
So the problems will be here, especially if you do amazing things. Like the only way to, like, problems are a sign of you growing, a sign of you being alive. Like whenever you open a new business, problem. So you can then say, once all of those problems are solved, I'm going to be happy.
Yeah.
Or you say, you know what? I'm actually going to enjoy solving those problems. And if you think about a sport, there are so many problems all the time, but you're so present, you don't even recognize them as problems. They're just like, but if you play a basketball match, there are like a ton of problems, different players. They're usually massive, very fast and very intimidating.
Yeah.
It's a lot of problems. So we need to look at how we manage problems.
Yeah, that for me was, it was all like, it's just things I didn't know. It's also because, I come from like a normal background and normal friends and normal everything. So some of the things that are happening now in our life is a first for us. It's things that we've never seen or experienced or done before. And so we don't have like a rule book to play by. It's almost like we need to, I don't know, smash the face first. That hurts. And then try it another way and without smashing the head. And I think for me, it also helped me that recently I've been around a group of people that I saw how they operated. And that really like opened my eyes. It's like, okay, if you want to make this sustainable, like this lifestyle sustainable, and if you want to do more of these things that you enjoy doing, there has to be a way that you do it, as I say, sustainably. Because if you want to keep on doing this and keep that behavior that you had 3 years ago, it's not going to last long and it's not going to be enjoyable. And so what helped me was to see people that are where I would like to be, even age-wise, like in 10 years down the line. They've done this 15 years before me. So they see 15 years ahead. So they can see what I'm doing, and they don't necessarily they tell me, but when you have a conversation like we're having right now, when I'm next to them and I see them operating, I can see how they deal when something, it's like some problem comes up. I remember when I had like stress when my notification on the phone would come up, like if I had a phone call, because I was like, what's next? And so I got to the stage where even that was like stressing me out. And I was like, if I want to do the things that I want to do, that can't be the reality or like the normal everyday life, or, there has to be a better way to deal with this sort of thing. So for me, that was the nicest like realizations, and also the things that makes me the happiest about me and my wife is see how much we've grown in these last 3 years on how we handle those things and how we behave.
Yeah.
And that was very nice to see.
1 million. I love looking back at something that used to trigger me and it doesn't trigger me anymore, or used to stress me and it doesn't stress me anymore. Or like the challenge that I'm giving myself at the moment, or something I'm trying to learn, is even when there is a lot on the plate, to not go into the mode of I'm so busy, I'm so busy, I'm so busy, and I'm rushing from one place to the next one. I'm trying to like almost be relaxed, even though it's one thing after the other.
Also, because how many times has the world stopped because something didn't work for you?
Exactly.
It's like,
Yeah.
life goes on, everything's still fine.
Yeah.
You can go to sleep tonight, tomorrow you'll be all right.
It's an inner game.
Yeah.
The ability, almost your ability to handle problems, it's almost dictating your life. Because also it's all subjective. What you think is a lot of work for someone else, there might be very little.
Yeah.
If you think, I had a client session the other day, and he told me like, hey, I feel really overwhelmed. It's a lot of work. And I asked him like, what is a lot for you? And he's like, what do you mean? I'm like, I want to know how much is a lot. Tell me your day, so that I know how much is a lot. And it would be, I'm not making fun of him or anything, great guy, but it was like 8-9 hours of work, and he just started his business. And I'm like, okay, so for you this is a lot. I have to be honest here with you, because I'm your coach and you're paying me for it. I have to be honest. The work isn't the stressful thing here. It's your interpretation of the work that's stressful. Because there are people who work twice as much. I remember when I started my business, I was like 16-hour days, but I had the time of the life because finally I was doing the thing that I loved and not sitting in a office.
That's what I was about to ask you. Like, is he actually doing things he enjoys?
Partially, and partially not.
Okay.
Yeah, good question though. But just shifting that perspective. And I also liked what you said before, spending time with people who are maybe a couple steps ahead from whom you can get perspective. And so just for him seeing that reaction from my side, I'm like, that would be kind of like a slow day for me.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, really? I'm like, yeah, really. Why are you stressing so much? Yeah, because I thought it's a lot. I'm like, okay, but is it? You deciding whether it's a lot or a little, it's your interpretation of it. And at the end of the day, I think what you said, we need to look at how we handle problems and how we see challenges, and basically it's up to us.
Yeah, I think though it's still very good to have those experiences, because I don't want to sound cliche that it's like, oh, but that shows how much you want it, but in a kind of way it does, because you have like heaps of moments in which you know you can be overwhelmed. It's like, look, this is probably not for me, or this is not the life that I want, or this is not. And in a way, you know, you have a lot of way out. It's just like, you know, I had so many opportunities in which I could have just not do the things that I'm doing, and just decide maybe this is not for me, and it's fine, because it's I don't want to also, like, you know, people thrive on different things. Some people enjoy doing certain stuff, some people don't. So for the things that I enjoy, I'm really passionate about projects. So I'm always excited for when something starts, and then of course when you start something new, it's always a bit stressful. And I think that the whole learning experience that goes by it's good to have, and it's good that you miss some opportunity. It's good that you screw some opportunity,
Yes.
and it's good that you miss up some relationship. And you know, it's all you need all of it. It's the same as, like, you know, in the gym, you can't go from the empty barbell to the 100 kilos. You need to try all the ones in
People
between.
wish they could.
And exactly, but it's the same. Like, you kind of have to go through all of those things, and then if you're persistent enough, you get to the 100-kilo barbell.
Oh, I love that picture.
And
I love that analogy, because that's most people's expectation,
yeah,
whether it's the gym or it's a business. Like, I'm just starting it and it's all gonna work out immediately, like the magic pill approach. And then you realize, you go to the gym, you look into a mirror, and you did all the right, even if you would do everything perfectly, like you train properly, you eat well, you sleep enough, the next day you look literally the same.
yeah,
And you do it again, and you still look the same. And you do it again, and you still don't see improvement, and you're like, oh, I'm giving up.
yeah.
It takes time. And it's the same in business. It just takes time. You need to do it persistently, repeat and repeat. But I think, especially nowadays, in the day and age of TikTok videos, where most people have the attention span of a goldfish, we almost lost the ability to see what could be, and only have the ability to see what is. And if it's not happening instantly, we almost like, let's just give up.
No, yeah, even, I mean, I think, you know, to put it in perspective, we've opened the doors of our gym tomorrow is 2 weeks, but we built for a year and a half. We planned for a year before it. So it's like 2.5 years before we could see anything, really, before we could see the
2.5 years, yeah.
But I still think the journey that led to it was probably like another 5 years prior to it, because it happened to me a few times that someone approached me as like, you know, want to do some fitness, we want to open a gym. It was in Bali or somewhere else, and for whatever reason, it always fell through, and I probably wasn't ready to do it. And so even the way when these people approached me, probably I wasn't ready to give them the safety that they needed to start something with me, or whatever the reason was, it never fell through. And so I think even probably the 5 years prior to that helped me build, to grow, to try things and everything. So if I think about it now, it's been probably like 7 years in the making before I could see one client coming through.
Thank you so much for sharing that, because there is this term overnight success, and I think it's a complete illusion.
Yeah, so
It's been years and years and years of, you know, learning the skills, accumulating. Also love to see that when someone blows up on social media, you see this one moment, you didn't see the 5,000 posts they did before.
Like we were just speaking right before the podcast, like the 10,000.
Yeah, 10,000 followers in a day.
Yeah.
And I've been posting things on social media for 6 years. So it's overnight success in a way, but
Yeah.
don't forget about the 5-6 years before that. And I love when people say you're so lucky. I agree. I'm really lucky. I'm really lucky I got a second chance. I'm really lucky I got a German passport in my pocket. That is luck. I didn't have to do anything for this.
Yeah.
I'm also lucky enough to understand that if I commit to something and I'm willing to work incredibly hard for it and learn from it and have even fun while working hard on it, I can achieve whatever I want to achieve. And I'm committed enough to do whatever it takes. So when I started my business, I was working 2 jobs, 16-hour days. You didn't hear me complaining, oh, I'm working so much. I did it. No, it's my dream. I really want to do this.
You remember how we started this podcast when you asked me if I was like a fly in your head when you were 16, and I told you like, look, I've always enjoyed practicing. Like,
right?
No one had to tell me. So I don't know if it's been engraved in me. So for me, the journey that leads to the thing that I enjoy the most is the journey, even more than the results. And that's probably one of my issues, is that I enjoy building things up, and as soon as they're built, I kind of get bored of it, and I need a new challenge.
But that's beautiful. I think I actually think that's a good thing. I think that's natural. I don't think it's necessarily that makes you grow all the time, because at the end of the day, you know, when you reach a goal, it's like, for how long is it? For how long you're gonna celebrate?
So for me, the whole process is nice.
Yeah,
that's the part that I enjoy. Like not even the problem part, but like that's the fun bit. It's for an analogy in cycling. I love climbing up. I don't love to stay at when the climb
you
is
reach
over.
the top and you're like, that's a nice view. But the fun is actually the part before.
I think it really all comes down to, like, if you do enjoy what you do, it doesn't feel heavy. It shouldn't feel heavy.
Most of the times, of course, there are always moments. Doesn't matter what you're doing.
Of course.
They like, I love paddle tennis like nothing else. But do I like chasing the ball in the rice field?
No, of course.
No.
But for the most, it should be still something.
For the most of the time, it should be something that you really love.
And that could be you starting a new venture. It could be you working for someone else, you working with someone else, you being with your partner, you being with a group of friends. If for the most of the time you don't enjoy what you're doing, it's probably not the thing for you.
Yeah. 1,000,000%. I think also the longer you do it, the more enjoyable it usually gets. Or what I'm trying to say, if I think about a new sport, if I think, for example, if you go snowboarding for the first time, it's not so much fun.
Skills, right?
You need some skills. So there is also, if you go play paddle tennis, just because I mentioned it here, if you go play it for the first time, like you did, you told me earlier, you're not going to enjoy it so much because it takes time to get the hang out of it. And the same with like starting a business. Like, some things are just annoying, but once you have figured it out, it's like, okay, lovely.
Quick one, but important one. If you enjoy this podcast, you will love our Fire Within retreats. We create not just retreats, but life-changing experiences, usually at very beautiful places. It's for everyone who honestly loves to grow. That's the only requirement we have. During those days, you will yes, have a blast. You will meet amazing people. You will cry, you will laugh, you will jump, you will do things that you've never done before. And for sure, you will grow. It's a perfect mix between relaxation, recharging, and growing and learning new things and creating the life that you really want and that you really deserve. You will walk out of there with a big smile on your face, recharged. Usually people who come to our retreats don't use their phone during that time. It's really time for you to reflect, to create consciously the life that you want. If you would like to relax, and I mean really relax, recharge, and learn life-changing tools, click the link that you will find underneath this video. You will get a special prize as a listener of this podcast. Thank you so much. And who knows, maybe I see you in Italy, in Spain, Austria, or wherever we decide to host a retreat. Now let's continue.
I mentioned a couple of Ricky stories, so I want to go there. If I can just summarize. So you had this dream of becoming a pro basketball player. You got close. It didn't work out. Now you're happy that it didn't work out. We will get there in a second. By the way, I could relate so much because my big dream was to become a pro football. You say soccer?
Okay,
I'm leaving the
sorry.
podcast. I'm leaving the studio. I wanted to become a pro football player, and I was also, I would say, getting close. I think I had the talent, but I didn't have the mindset. No, I have the mindset, but I don't have the talent anymore. I'm also really happy it didn't work out because I love what I do so much, and I don't know if I would enjoy traveling so much for it. But anyways, so it didn't work out. Ricky is wearing a suit and tie. I didn't know that. And then what? You mentioned Dubai. We're obviously sitting right now in Bali. Could you close that gap and give us a bit of context?
Yeah, so basketball is over. I need a job. I go into finance. I was very good, but I hated every single day of it. And I got to the point where they gave me the first big promotion after a year. And it's like, okay, I get my office, 3 people working for me. And that's it. I probably start like alone, buy a house, start a family, and I'm stuck. And the idea terrorized me. Like,
For some people, it's a dream.
no, because it depends what you value at the time.
Exactly,
If you value safety, it's amazing. For me, I valued freedom, and so it wasn't a thing for me. So, so I decided to quit that. Got into pharmaceutical for 6 months. Hated it even more. But one thing I loved was fitness, and I've been doing basketball my whole time. Of course, I had a clear interest into fitness, and so I wanted to go somewhere. I always told my mom, I want to live somewhere close to the beach and in short pants. Ever since I was young, I've always told her, always. And so I got to the stage. I was like, well, I can go. I need to go somewhere. I don't know where. Yeah. And at the time, a friend of mine comes back from Perth, and he's like, oh, Perth is beautiful, and I don't need a bus card anymore, so you can have my bus card. So when you go to Perth, you can use the bus. And that was my whole research about moving to somewhere. So I was like, well,
a bus card?
Yeah, to take the public transportation. So it was like, oh, I already have mine. There's still like some money in it, so you can use it. And I was like, oh, cool. Then I'm gonna go to Perth.
And why did you move to Australia? Well, I had a bus card.
Yeah, exactly. That was pretty much it. It was like, Perth, people love fitness, and it's nice. The sun is like very sunny, it's close to the beach, and you have a bus card sorted. I was like, amazing. That's all I really needed.
Salt.
And so I left, and I didn't book the house. I've done nothing. Like, I was completely unprepared because I wanted to start coach strength and conditioning, which I knew how because I've been in the gym my whole life, but I didn't have any qualifications. So I was like, if I send my CV, no one's going to hire me. If I show up, maybe they like me. So I was like, I'm better off if I show up than send because CV experience, none. So, what am I going to send it for? So yeah, I used to do finance. Cool. But we don't care. And so I was like, well, I'm not going to send anything. I'm going to show up, and eventually they like me. And so I stopped in Malaysia because my brother used to live there, on my way to Australia. And then I was like, Malaysia is really cool, or Asia in general is really cool. Maybe I'll try here. And I got a few offers there, but none of them fit. And then I'd never been to Bali, but I saw that the flights were like $40 and there were 2 CrossFit affiliates. So I was like, cool. I sent an email to both of them, the affiliates at the time. One didn't even reply to me, and the other one told me that they were looking for a coach. And I just showed up anyway. I was like, maybe they'll like me. No. That's exactly how it went. So, and then by doing that, I literally burned my ticket to Perth because my ticket was from Kuala Lumpur to Perth. Yeah. So coming to Bali meant that I lost that flight.
Got it. And the bus card.
And the bus card.
Don't forget about that bus
card. And so, I came to Bali for a week. And I was like, guys, I have no experience, but I love fitness. Can we do something? And then they were like, well, maybe. And they sent me to Jimbaran to learn. And that's how it started. Like, I didn't have a job or anything. I just showed up, and I was like, can I help with something? And then I just helped for like 10 days, unpaid for it. Of course, nothing. My first contract, it was paid for by,
yeah.
But I needed an excuse to stick around and learn a new job. And so I took anything that they would give it to me because my priority was, of course, being able to at least afford a month, but mostly I wanted to have a chance to stay in a place that I wanted to stay and do things that I wanted to do. And so I just showed up. I was like, well, maybe they'll like me. I have better chance if I show up than if I just send,
Got it.
And that's how it all started.
I love that. I call that commitment. That's how it started. So at some point you start working as a CrossFit coach.
Yeah, working.
You got it into CrossFit. I will probably use Fittest Man in Indonesia for the title.
A few years ago.
It still works. People click on it. But you have to elaborate. Okay. You don't look very Indonesian. How do you become Fittest Man in Indonesia?
Well, because at the time with CrossFit, it was you would become the fittest person of the country you're resident in.
Oh, okay.
So I was resident in Indonesia, so that's why. Because that's it. Not because of passport reasons or anything. It just depended where you live.
Probably all the Indonesians were like, this freaking Italian.
I know,
guy.
And then they changed the rules like the year later, and I was like, oh, at least I got one title in my career for fitness. And yeah, that was like, I did a year and a half in Bali, and I got to a point in a coaching where I was like, well, I feel like a little bit stuck. I don't know if I can proceed anywhere else. And I sent a CV, because at the time then I had a year and a half of experience. I sent a CV in Dubai. It was like, they told me after that, it was like probably 1,300 people applied, and they only needed like 1 or 2 coaches. And I was one of those. I sent, you know, when you do those things like, oh, they're never going to take me. And then
Oh
eventually
my
they did.
gosh, that's a, yeah.
And then they called me up. I was like, can you come to Abu Dhabi in 10 days?
I love that part. Thank you so much for mentioning it. Because I think, here's my theory, people who need something the most are the least people to get it. Like if you're really needy, you usually don't get it. Like people who need a business, like a job the most, are probably the people who don't end up with it, because the people who need it the least, they're so qualified, they're so good at it, they're like, yeah, I will get one anyway. So this neediness, also when you think of relationships or something, neediness is never a good sign. So I love your abundant actions. You're like, I just send it, I'll do it, I just show up.
But this is also one of the things that I saw backwards, and I saw like this video from some time ago that it was like, success is not something you pursue, it's something you attract. So
By
instead
the person who you become. Jim Rohn, love that guy.
it's really
It's
true.
really true.
And for me is always, I think
He also had this quote, it fit perfectly to what we just talked about earlier. Don't wish for less problems, wish for more skills.
yeah, which is very true. And I think also another thing, I don't know if, like, in this, for example, me and my wife are very different. She can do amazing thing and thinking that she's not good enough.
Yeah.
And I can do something as basic as lace my shoes and congratulate myself for doing it.
I think it's a good skill.
So you lace my shoes, like, oh, I'm so good at this. But like in a genuine way, not in a bad way. And I think one of the things that also has helped me, I don't know if it always kind of came natural. So I didn't have to pretend or anything, but I feel like everything that I got myself into it, I've always done it as if I already had it.
Oh, I love that.
When I came to ask for a job, I almost pretend that it was already my job in S2S when I started here in Bali. And so in everything, I never went in with the chance that, oh, that might not happen. I've always went in, it's already mine.
I love that.
But no one taught me that.
Where did you learn that?
I don't know, like when my mom came here and she also did something like she poured water in a glass. She was like, I'm so good at pouring water. So I don't know if that, you know, her confidence then went down to mine. And I think Tui, my wife, pointed it out, I mean, a few times. I think every time even when now we opened the gym, is a few of us. And when we first started the first conversations about it, where nothing was on the table, there was no agreement or nothing. In my mind, it was already happening. And I've always behaved as if that gym was going to happen regardless of what. And so it's not something that I've done consciously. It's something that my wife told me about it. And she was like, you know, you always do it like that. I was like, it's not something that I knew.
Another goosebumps moment, because I was sorry for making a assumption or judgment, but I don't think you like study the law of attraction and like spirituality, but that's exactly what they teach.
Yeah.
Know what you want, commit to what you want, focus on what you want, and then act as if it already happened.
Yeah.
It's inevitable. Time just hasn't caught up yet. And that's exactly what you just said. Like, it's gonna happen. It's just a question of time. I love that.
Yeah, and I don't know, it always came, and then of course, you know, people have different personalities, so for some people become more natural, for some didn't, but yeah, I think not in a cocky way, and also it's not like everything I've always wanted always happened, because that's not the case. Also, a lot of things that I wanted didn't happen, some happened lately, so, but I don't know, somehow I've always had this clear underlying belief in myself.
In your ability to figure things out, to find a way.
Yeah.
I love that. Talking about, just because I just saw the note, 5 minutes left and we have to get into the story. Tell me, how did you meet your wife?
But that's another great example of it, because when I saw her on social media, I was like, she's beautiful. And we were neighbors, we never saw each other. I go live in Dubai. And then one day we start messaging. And I saw a picture where I was like, okay, I need to message her now. So eventually, what do you message when you slide in someone's DMs? Like, hey, how are you? You know, like the classic one. So it's like Chinese. Oh,
A
yeah.
really good one that I got recently. Do you want to go for a smoothie bowl? It's like, who asks for a smoothie bowl? Yeah.
Let's go for it. But with me,
We ended up going for the smoothie bowl.
But at the time, she was in Bali and I was in Dubai. So invite her for a smoothie bowl was challenging.
Okay, got it.
And so yeah, we start messaging like, and the casual, hey, how are you? Oh yeah, you were in Bali. Oh, me too. Oh, do you have siblings? You know, like how old are you? And all that sort of stuff. And on the how old are you? I think at the time we were like 26, 25. I was like, oh, 25. Oh, me too. And where are you? Oh, so you're 92. Yes, me too. Oh, when you're born in January. Oh, me too. I was like, well, if you're born on the 28th, I need to marry you. And she was like, well, careful. Because then turns out she was also from the 28th of January. And so on my third or fourth message to Tui that I've never spoke before, I told that I was going to marry her. And then eventually I did. And so it works. And yeah, that's how we started talking. And then even then, you know, like I really liked her since the beginning, and we started talking. And then it comes time to meet, and she was in Bali, I was in Dubai. I get on a plane, I come to see her in Bali. She's going through some stuff, and the second I land in Bali, she goes on a silent retreat for a week, shuts her phone off, and I have no idea where she is. So I come to Bali to see her. She goes in the mountains, nowhere to be seen. I go back in Dubai. I get a text the day after. I was like, I want to see you. I was like, I was there yesterday, and so now I'm back. And so she came to Dubai. But even then, you know, I was like, well, I'm going to marry you. And I proposed to her, I think, the 5th time we saw each other.
Wow.
So after 4, she came to Dubai that time where we finally met each other. I came to Bali. She came to Dubai when I came back to Bali. So probably was the 4th time we saw each other for like a week at a time. We've got engaged immediately. And
Because
I was like,
you knew it?
Yeah, I knew it. I knew it 100%. I was like, that's it.
What I hear from you, so podcast is called Success Leaves Clues. I'm planning on someday writing a book for my kids and everybody like in the world to give them basically success recipes. And I heard a couple of things from your side. I heard you're following your heart. You know what you want, and then you just go for it. Screw it. Let's just do it. My heart will be right. I heard that when you want something, you go get it and you think like it's inevitable. It's going to happen. Time hasn't caught up yet. It's going to happen. I just trust it that I will figure it out. Is there anything else? Basically, the last question here during this interview, I could do this with you for like 7 hours. If you would have to put one recipe or like one ingredient for success in terms of fulfillment, in terms of happiness, whatever you choose, health, wealth, relationships, you can pick one thing, put it into this book for your kids, for my kids, for the rest of the world. What would be that ingredient? What would be that one piece of advice?
I think for me, it would probably be, I want to say like almost being genuine, but it's like almost being honest to yourself. It's like being genuine in the sense that when you're genuine about the things that you do, you're really into those. You do it because you're genuinely passionate about something.
Yes.
So being like genuine about your things. People smells. Can I say bullshit on your podcast?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, people smells bullshit so far away, and you don't need to live by that. So like just being genuine about the things that you do. Just, you know, when things are genuine, they just taste different. You can smell when something, like the intention behind something, behind a restaurant or a gym in our case, is that when you walk into a place, there's a certain atmosphere that is created by the intention for which it's built.
Yeah.
And so the thing for me is like, go after something that you're genuinely proud about, that you would want to really do, that you could talk about we could talk for like another 3 hours about the gym, because I'll be very passionate about it. If you ask me when we work in finance, can you talk for 3 hours of it? Like, no. And so for me, it's more like, just be honest with yourself, be genuine about it, have clear intention of why you're doing the things that you do. Being genuine and clear intentions of why you're doing certain things.
I love that.
I think that really helps to make you do the things that you want to do. Because if you want to do a load of money, follow a career that pursue that. Don't go into doing charity things. You know, just, have the real intention of why you're doing things.
Yeah.
Don't pretend that that you're doing, you know, something good for the people if all you want is get the money for it. No. So that's more what I mean. I don't know if I can say it right in English. Like in my mind, I know it. In my stomach, I
for
know
me,
it
it sounds like be unapologetically yourself. Like be honest to yourself. Be authentic.
Yeah.
And when I look at you, I'm like, follow your heart. Kind of like there was already proof. Like if you would think in your head, like it's the fourth time you see someone, you don't propose. You're like, fuck it. That's what I want. I'll do it. It feels right. So let's do it.
Yeah. So
I wanna open a gym in Bali. Screw it. Let's just freaking do it. Maybe that's the title of the podcast. Screw it. Let's do it.
Screw it. Let's do it. Yeah.
Screw it. Let's do it.
That could be a way. But I think that would be the thing for me. It's just like, just be genuine and just honest with yourself. Follow the things that. And then I understand the circumstances in life, though. You have to do what you have to do, and you don't always have the privilege to choose what you want to do. But if you're in a position to choose and be genuine about the things that you want to go, that's probably the chance that you should take. Eventually, down the line, it'll pay off. Not necessarily just the financial side, but even just like how you feel about yourself and about the people around you and the things that you're doing with your life.
Ricky, thank you so much for your time.
Thank
you. I
you.
could do this forever.
Yeah, right. It feels like we
barely just started. I'm like,
next time I vlog, more to
right? Next time I vlog like 5 hours for the interview
like a Joe Rogan 3.5 hours.
Yeah, exactly. Let's get some cigars.
Exactly.
I want to acknowledge you for always following your heart. If you ever come to Bali, of course, visit Beyond.
Please.
That's where I train. Get a good ice bath in. Jump into the sauna if it's ready by then.
Will.
Okay.
Bali time.
Bali time. Okay, well, you got work to do. Thank you so much for being here. And I'm excited to see where your journey is going and interview the next time. Have an interview with you for 4 hours instead. Thank you so much, Ricky.
Thank you.
Until next time.
Ciao, ciao.
I really hope you enjoyed today's episode, just as a little gift from our side, from my team, because you stayed until the end of this episode. 30 days of free Fire Within membership. I created the Fire Within membership to give you guys access to the tools that have changed my life, the lives of my clients, and give you also access to a community of like-minded people. We have guided breathwork sessions, guided meditations, guided visualization practices, really tools that enable you to create the life that you deserve and that you want. And it's one of the best things we have ever created. Hundreds of people, live events, sessions that will blow your mind. 30 days for free. You will find the link in the description. Thank you so much, and until next time.